3 old school rappers that played the hip-hop game the best. The music business is one of the biggest industries in the world. Revenue in music has risen substantially over the years, reaching an all-time high in the US of nearly 16 million in sales in 2022, according to the RIAA. Due to factors like streaming, social media, and digital works that can now be sold without the overhead of having physical CDs or tapes, music has never been easier for artists to get a start and flourish in whatever lane they so choose. In the last 10 plus years, rappers have relied on using trends that became popular on social media and the boom of the influencer industry to promote their music and join the wave all the way into financial success. Up until now, I haven't even mentioned the word talent. That's because in that same span, talent, believe it or not, hasn't been the biggest determining factor in if an artist can blow up or not, as long as they can find an interesting way to attract eyes, ears, and followers as they ride the waves all the way to shore. Back when hip-hop first started, it was all about talent. You didn't have crutches like social media, YouTube covering artists in interview format daily, or streaming farms in some remote location running up the numbers to make an artist with a wealthy investor seem bigger than his talent actually is. You had to rap back then, and you had to do it well. That means cadence, your bread and butter flow, which was important to switch up and come with new ones from time to time. Stories, similes, metaphors, braggadociousness, entendres, charisma, and you had to be believable. Unlike now, you also had to find a way to get those attributes in the right hands, then eyes and ears, then you had to stay there and be consistent. An underrated element in hip-hop history, longevity. Today, I want to look at 3 rappers I think played the game the best against all those odds mentioned earlier, became stars in their time, each holding the crown at some point in their careers as the best rapper in the game. Sure, they had flaws, as nothing is perfect, but as far as being a rapper, especially from an older time period like the 90s or early 2000s, these rappers got the most of their 20 plus years in the game and are still talked about today. Most importantly, still alive and well, flourishing in other ventures now that they understand that the genre they love is a young man's game, and every artist has to find and be ready for that point they have to get off the ship. Doesn't mean they can't still release music, but the race is over, and for them, their legacy is set in stone and will be talked about for as long as hip-hop remains one of the most popular genres. How 50 Cent, Nas, and Jay-Z navigated their hip-hop journeys into becoming their era's biggest rappers, to venturing out and taking over other industries and evolving as the blueprint to what rap artists should aspire for. Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth Music. Let's get it, man. Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, Queens, New York. First album released 2003. Classic albums 1. 50 Cent is one of my favorite rappers of all time. To me, as far as rap career, 50 had one of the greatest runs in history. If you admire anything about hustle, consistency, and a never take no for an answer approach, then look no further than 50 Cent's career. My favorite thing about his journey is how he was able to transition from music into fashion, branding, electronics, books, television, and even sports. As a rapper, what more could you want from a career that started with you writing songs and rapping in a basement, placing those songs on a mixtape and selling them hand to hand while searching for a record deal to fast forward your way out the hood? A person who turned the negative of him being shot 9 times in front of his grandmother on her front lawn with his young son in the house into the sole reason his gangsta image became as big as it was around 2003. I remember when he came out and nothing else mattered. Every car, every iPod, every ringtone that went off in class, and every city was bumping 50 Cent's music. From his unreleased Power of a Dollar album to his How to Rob song where he dissed almost every popular artist in music as his way of gaining attention, to his debut studio album Get Rich or Die Trying, and everything in between. 50 Cent came in and took the rap game by storm, but it wasn't easy. At 8 years old, he lost his mother after she died in a house fire, but his father wasn't around to save him. He grew up with his grandparents and sold crack when he wasn't in the boxing gym to earn money for himself. Later, after being arrested in front of the entire school, he stopped hiding his street ways, leading to being set up by undercover police in a drug sale and him having to finish high school in boot camp. He met Run DMC's Jam Master Jay, who took liking to 50 and taught him the ways of being an artist. He signed with Columbia Records and released How to Rob, describing how he would rob certain famous artists. Nas notably responded to the track by inviting 50 on tour, and he was also supposed to work with Destiny's Child before he was shot. Not just shot, the industry tried to blackball 50 for the song Ghetto Quran. Overcoming once again, he moved to Canada to seclude himself and work on his comeback. One important move he made adjusted the rap industry as he took the mixtape game to another level, taking all the hot beats, changing the hooks and verses, and challenging himself to make the popular song much better. Guess Who's Back drops, as well as 50 Cent Is the Future, and landed on the desk of Eminem, the biggest artist in the game at that point, who along with Dr. Dre, signed 50 to Aftermath Records, leading to his debut album in 2003 that shot up the charts and quickly went platinum and eventually diamond worldwide and over 9 million sold in the US. It's regarded as one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time. It was his first #1 album. He responded with another #1 on album 2 that sold over 9 million worldwide as well and 6 million in the US. Anything 50 touched at that point went platinum. Even his undergroup G-Unit, artists like Lloyd Banks and Tony Yayo. 3 more albums released, the last in 2014, all except that one went platinum. Sensing the point he needed to transition, 50 began investing in brands like Coca-Cola and Vitamin Water, leading to lucrative deals that he used to financially become a bigger figure in hip-hop. Acting, directing, producing, writing, sports team partnerships, all became a part of his portfolio, transitioning exactly how older rappers are supposed to. His gangsta has also never been tested since the shooting in 2000. Of any rapper, to me, 50 Cent overcame the most and is a great role model for rappers today. His reign from 2002 to 2005. Nas, Queens, New York, first album released 1994, classic albums 3. As far as natural rap talent, I think Nas and the notorious B.I.G. were blessed with the most gifts. Because B.I.G. passed away after just 1 album in the game, Nas held that title his entire career. His vocal tone and cadence/flow is unmatched even to this day. Just going off sound, when you say the word rapper, Nas's face should immediately pop up. He just has one of those timeless voices that isn't too loud or aggressive, but smooth and in the right musical pocket to sit perfectly on beats of any era, but especially the 90s boom bap sounding instrumentals. Even beats he do pick that are flawed, which he's been heavily criticized for, like Ether, Nas still makes a great song out of it. Ether is my favorite diss track of all time. Not for the beat, which I also think is underrated, but that's maybe a result of what Nas was able to do with it. Nas's importance to hip-hop can never be passed over, since he has what most feels is the best hip-hop album of all time in Illmatic. 10 songs and you won't skip not one. All classic with only AZ as a feature. All Nas, great stories that show off Nas's intelligence, and beats from some of the greatest producers ever in Premier, Pete Rock, and Large Professor. Can't forget LES and Q-Tip. Nasir Jones was born and initially raised in a 2-parent household, but after his father and mother divorced, Nas dropped out of school in the 8th grade and began dabbling in music. His neighbor and best friend Ill Will was shot right outside Nas's building, forcing him to seclude himself and take rap more serious. He meets producer Large Professor, who allows him to record in the big studio when the bigger artists weren't there. It's where Nas crafted his rhymes and prepared for his big break. It came in the form of a feature on Main Source's Live at the Barbecue in 1991. In 1992, Nas was signed by Columbia Records and in 94 released Illmatic. It was the biggest album of the year in the streets and had artists like Biggie and Jay-Z taking notes as well as taking their own shots at the throne. Nas has released 14 albums since Illmatic, including 5 #1 albums, 7 of them going platinum. He's still releasing albums to this day when he finds time from the investments he's involved in, like Ring that sold to Amazon and netted Nas $40 million, Dropbox, Lyft, Robinhood, and others. He's underrated in many ways because his demeanor isn't one to boast, but his career and his transition into business makes Nas one of the more successful rappers ever. His reign from 94 to 97. Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z, Brooklyn, New York, first album released 1996, classic albums 3. Last but not least, when talking about rappers that played the game the best, Jay-Z is arguably at the top of that list. He was the first to show that hip-hop could change clothes and ascend into heavyweights in business. Before Kanye West became the richest rapper ever according to him and past deals that have since soured, Jay-Z always held that title, except his were legitimate and he never lost footing like Mr. West, being stripped of almost everything by his own choice. Many flawed Jay-Z for some of his practices of using whoever he needs to, stepping on their backs to elevate himself higher, but that just puts Jay ahead of his time in my eyes because hindsight has shown that it was either that or go down with sinking ships. Jay, like 50 and Nas, also understood how to transition into business, as he's the one that gave hip-hop the blueprint to doing so. To me, while Nas and Biggie were naturally gifted, down to their voice sounding like polished tracks even when they simply spoke, were like Jordan and LeBron as far as natural talent, while Jay is more like Kobe. Exclude age or accomplishments, because Jay in that way is definitely the Mike Jordan of this mic recording, but off natural gifts alone. Jay worked on his craft and polished his look and had to use strategy to get where he did. Record companies didn't even want to sign Jay when he first came out. He and friends Dame Dash and Kareem Burke had to use their own money and create their own label for Jay to get on. He released his first album in '96, also one of his classics that didn't even sell that well compared to the career he went on to have. One that included 11 straight #1 albums and 2 more classics in The Blueprint and The Black Album. Jay-Z transitioned into owning a basketball team when no one thought a black rapper could do so, and tons of other businesses too much to even mention. He's married with kids now and in a space he never needs to rap or be relevant again. He's an icon living and of all hip-hop artists, held the throne the longest from 1998 to 2003 and is still regarded as the best overall rapper alive. All in all, of old school rappers, these ones to me have played their rap journey the best. Of course, there's more, and if you hope to hear of some new school rappers playing the game right now, let me know in the comments below. Salute to Nas, Jay, and 50 Cent, 3 of my favorite rappers of all time, 3 of the top rappers of all time. It's your boy JC StuntedGrowthMusic, and I'm out.